The Stone Zone with legendary Republican strategist and political icon and pundit Roger Stone. Stone has served as a senior campaign aide to 3 Republican presidents. He is a New York Times best-selling author and a longtime friend and advisor of President Donald Trump. As an outspoken libertarian, Stone has appeared on thousands of broadcasts, spoken at countless venues, and lectured before the prestigious Oxford Political Union and the Cambridge Union Society. Due to his 4+ decades in the political and cultural arena, Stone has become a pop culture icon. And now, here's your host, Roger Stone.
Welcome. I'm Roger Stone, and yes, you are back in the Stone Zone. Yesterday, just as we were closing the show, we got the word that President Donald Trump has announced that he will appoint Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. This is a great appointment for many, many reasons. First and foremost, because Robert Kennedy is committed to fighting the scourge of chronic childhood disease, committed to re-examine the way pharmaceutical drugs are approved in our country, and absolutely committed to making sure the American people are told the truth on every major health issue. So I want to applaud President Trump for having the courage to make this appointment. I also want to thank Robert Kennedy for being willing to serve. I think this is an important step in the political realignment that we've discussed here so much on the Stone Zone. People need to stop thinking in terms of Republicans and Democrats. The way to think about this is in terms of outsiders like Kennedy, like Trump, like Tulsi Gabbard, and the permanent Washington unelected elitist globalist insiders. That is the true division in America. We are going to break this and other things down for you, but first let me bring in my co-host, the editor-in-chief of Slingshot.News, my friend Torrey Smith.
Roger, it's always an honor to be back with you in the Stone Zone. And just real quickly on your opening monologue there, I wanted to ask you, as somebody who's been in the room, the people in the Washington, D.C. establishment, they work like snakes, and it's more like wolves. You know, they come at the president and they come at whatever agenda they have, and they pick apart, the truth. And I just wanted to, let you respond to this real quickly. It's going to benefit Trump tremendously just to have people like Tulsi Gabbard, people like RFK in the room, because these are people that have a barometer for BS, they have a barometer for truth, and they're going to be able to help President Trump dissect the incoming attacks to influence him, maybe in a negative way. Roger, can you speak to that as somebody who's been in the room, the value of having people of integrity like that in your cabinet? I mean, it's got to be tremendous.
Here's the thing about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that has always impressed me. And no, I did not urge him to run for president. No, I played no role in his presidential campaign. This became a very popular meme on social media. Late last night, I posted a picture of he and I together that I've had for a couple of years, just because we spoke at a conference together. And now I can put it out there without a bunch of conspiracy theorists saying, oh, Stone urged Kennedy to run to siphon votes from the Democrats. That is entirely untrue. That said, since I read his book on Dr. Fauci, one of the most epic criminals in U.S. history, I've had a strong and fierce admiration for Robert Kennedy, because I've never seen him in any interview or debate type situation in which he could not back up any claim he made with authoritative medical studies and other sources. So I have enormous respect for his intellect. It's annoying to see the fake news media refer to him as a nut. These are the same people who would have us believe that the COVID-19 vaccination is both safe and effective. Numerous political leaders, including Joe Biden, including Ron DeSantis for that matter, told us point blank, if you get the vaccination, You cannot, you will not contract COVID-19. That's just not true. And the incidence, the increase in things like testicular cancer and ovarian cancer and other health problems, we're not making this up. If you limit yourself to Facebook or Instagram, you're never going to see any evidence of it. But if you go to Truth Social or you go to X, where Elon Musk is leading the way for free speech, you can find plenty of information. So, look, Robert Kennedy is a truth teller, and he is. I'm sure that those at Big Pharma who are used to having their way, who, as you know, got approval for the COVID-19 vaccination while having no legal liability whatsoever for any side effect, and without any clinical trials to test whether it was safe and effective indeed, they're crapping their pants right now, and they should be.
Well, Roger, it goes to show this trend of people that are, coming out in support of the president, and we've talked about it here, as you said earlier in the monologue. It's the political realignment, and a huge part of this has been Elon Musk. Now, we have a video of Elon Musk at Mar-a-Lago. He's been there a lot recently, and this is causing a lot of panic on the left, because usually, Roger, it's the left that gets George Soros. It's the left that gets the billionaire class, like people like Mark Zuckerberg with lots of money. And the idea that the America First movement has its own billionaire willing to put money behind the movement, behind the political aspirations of Trump and his followers, I think it really rubs them the wrong way, because they've had a monopoly on this class of people for a long time. So let's play the video of Elon Musk at Mar-a-Lago and then get Roger's thoughts on Elon Musk's role in this coming administration. He seems to be playing a huge role. Let's roll that.
To the Constitution. Anyway, so if that's George Soros of the light, that's me. But I'm incredibly excited about the future. And the Republic has given us a mandate that could not be more clear. It's the clearest mandate. Winning the popular vote clearly, the House, the Senate, the Electoral College by a mile, majority of governorships, majority of legislatures, all Republican. The people have spoken. The people want change. I think this is going to be the most transformative presidency, perhaps since the founding of the country. And President Trump is picking the cabinet to do it. You can see the choices are people who are actually going to make change. It's not going to be business as usual. We're going to shake things up. It's going to be a revolution. And so we're headed towards, I think, a fantastic future. I'm super excited. I look forward to experiencing that with everyone. Thank you.
Look, Elon Musk is clearly a genius, and I think he and President Trump have extraordinary chemistry, and therefore he wants nothing for himself. First of all, he is going to head a committee on government efficiency. I love the fact that he asked former Congressman Ron Paul to join the committee. Somebody's been talking about waste in government spending for decades. He's going to have a disproportionate amount of influence. You can see that the fake news media is apoplectic about this. Yesterday, there was a story, and I've checked, it's completely fraudulent, that the Trump staff is frustrated by Elon's presence at Mar-a-Lago. NBC, these people are running dog lackeys for the deep state. And virtually nothing they report is either true or accurate. So, look, I think Elon is not only a great man, obviously a great advocate for free speech, a very positive influence on this administration. I still have not met him. I look forward to meeting him. I think I may meet him tonight, actually, when I'm going to go to Mar-a-Lago for dinner. But I'm an admirer. I was an admirer before he bought X, to be honest with you, before he bought Twitter. So I think that is important. Troy, Tom Barrack is one of President Donald Trump's oldest friends. Tom Barrack, who heads Colony Capital, a real estate investment fund in California, first met Donald Trump decades ago when he was working for the Bass Brothers. And Donald Trump bought the Plaza Hotel in New York from the Bass Brothers. Tom Barrack, who was then working for the Bass Brothers before he struck out and made a fortune on his own, went to New York expecting to negotiate the sale with some Trump Organization staff lawyer. But instead, he ended up negotiating the sale in a complicated negotiation with Donald Trump himself. They became fast friends. I can honestly say that Tom Barrack is perhaps the only person that President Trump regards as a peer. He has great affection for Tom. Tom paid a very high price because he was an advocate for the Abraham Accords. That's because he's Lebanese and it's what he believed in. Federal prosecutors later came back and charged him, claiming that he had to file a Foreign Agents Registration Act because he had talked to the president on behalf of the Abraham Accords. Their claim was that because certain interests in the Middle East had invested in his real estate investment firm or trust, I guess it was, that there was some quid pro quo. The problem was it's a long-term hold fund. So yes, he had Middle Eastern money in his fund, but it was deposited 16 years ago, 16 years before Donald Trump became president, 16 years before anyone could possibly know that Trump was going to be president. They tried to, just as they did with me, they tried to pressure Tom Barrack into testifying falsely against his friend Donald Trump. He refused. He went to trial in Brooklyn, New York, a very unfavorable venue. He was acquitted on all counts because the indictment was ridiculous. He was on, I guess it was MSNBC yesterday, to talk about the progress of the Trump administration and the appointments so far. I think it's a great interview. We're going to bring it to you now.
Tom, it's great to have you here back at Bloomberg.
So good to be with you. It's back to the future a bit.
Tom, it's worth reminding everybody a little bit about your relationship with the president-elect. Joe just told us, and he's absolutely right, of course, that you were chairman of the inauguration back in 2016. You were, of course, then President Trump's biggest fundraiser at the time. You and he go back more than 40 years. It gives you unique insights into the man and, more importantly, what Trump 2.0 is going to be like. One of the things that people want to know most is how Trump 2.0 is going to be different from Trump 1.0. Tell us.
So first of all, the insight into the man going back 40 years is, I've learned one thing: trust his instincts. And I think what the country now has decided is that all the rhetoric, all the confusion, all the drama around how it may be presented, this is not only one of the greatest political athletes that we've ever seen, he's just one of the greatest athletes. But the question, I think, on what 2.0 is it's going to be hopeful, phenomenal, and much better, I think, than even the other side, in fear of what might be coming, will accept. Why? Because think about it, in 2016, we were together. We were having this conversation. You have a man who's one of the best builder, developers, financiers in the world, a reality talk show host for 13 years on The Apprentice, zero political experience, Zero Washington experience, right? In those, if you had to go out of the 212 area code in those days, it was a flurry. Comes to Washington, putting a team together, right? We all thought we were putting the best team together. You had to find resources to do it. People were apprehensive of doing it. And just finding your way around D.C. was not...
So is the point that he's no longer a rookie in the job and he knows what he's doing?
Well, not only is he not a rookie, he did a great job. And if you think of what happened, we went from a Muslim ban to no ISIS. We go to a great economy in the world. We have no problems with Mexico at the time. Immigration is under control. Healthcare, security, housing, all of those things seem to be better. 4 years then of being attacked physically, legally, socially, and reflecting on all of the other things. So in that reflection of 4 years, got him ready to say, if I have the opportunity and the stewardship to have another 4 years and really create my legacy, I now know how to do it. And I know what the people are that I need, and I know the wiring of the plumbing in the system.
So let's talk for a moment about the instincts. So few of the president-elect's nominees for cabinet positions, not all, of course, but so few, I would say, have the resume traditionally needed to achieve high office. Why? Tom, help us understand, why is he choosing people with such limited experience and limited, on a relative basis, qualifications?
I don't know that limited qualifications, right? Qualifications.
On a relative basis, if you look at the resumes of the people who got those jobs in the last administration, in the first Trump administration, and administrations going back decades, they were, quote unquote, more qualified.
Well, more qualified of being in the system. What the American people just said to Donald Trump is, we believe you, we understand you, we are not supporting the system. It's not working for us. It's not working in housing. It's not working in Medicare. It's not working with our children. We can't say God in school. We don't want our boys to become girls or our girls to become boys. That's out of the system. So I disagree. The qualifications for the system, for the bureaucracy, right? When we talk about the deep state.
Or the establishment.
Yeah, and the establishment is not bad, right? These people are not bad. It's not corrupt. It's corroded. So to come in with a new frame of mind, with a new set of people who have integrity, have commitment, have dedication, who understand a different program, is what you need to move the cheese. You need to break the system. You need to move the cheese.
You need to break the system.
Absolutely.
I mean, and you're saying that, it's important to hear you say that, because you're not, I know this, we've known each other long enough, you're not a burn it down kind of a guy.
Absolutely.
Right? You found ways to succeed inside the system. Trump, in many ways, has succeeded in spite of the system. And now he kind of wants to burn it down. Is burning it down, in principle, is the risks that you take in burning it down, the risks that you take with the rule of law, the risks that you take with civil rights, the risks that you take with military competence, the risks that you take with financial markets, are they worth it? Are they worth the prize that potentially is there at the end of the day when you've burnt it down?
Absolutely, and he's not burning it down, and the price is freedom in America, right? I mean, that's what we're looking for, is the American dream to be reinstated. So if you look at how he's doing it, it's analog to digital, right? We have a federal government that is not corrupt. The Justice Department itself, we all talk about that as kind of the mainstay of the focus of these atrocities that have happened. Steve Bannon in jail. 27 of his associates indicted. What they've done to him, time in and time out, in my opinion, is not because Merrick Garland is corrupt, or Lisa Monaco is corrupt, or the civil servants, the 94 U.S. attorneys that are there. They're not corrupt, they're corroded. The system doesn't work. You have to change the system. And the only way you can change the system is from the bottom and from the top. And yes, he's going to do it. His appointments absolutely understand the program. Congress now is on side. But by the way, Congress is not so easy, right? If you're a senator in Congress, you don't want your fiefdoms to be totally taken away from you with someone else's decision. So his artfulness in dealing with Congress will be better. But these people are first-class choices. Tulsi Gabbard, Bobby Kennedy just now.
You make it sound so reasonable. But even some Republicans look at a nomination of a Matt Gaetz, say, and think to themselves, WTF, what is Trump doing? Is that a serious nomination, or is that sort of a joke or perhaps a maneuver of some sort?
Look, obviously, I can't speak for the president, but I can tell you it's not a joke. So what is he doing? He's disintermediating everything. We've lived in 10 years of disintermediation of everything that we've known, right? Every company that was AAA 10 years ago is almost non-existent today. So it's the same thing. A Matt Gaetz, his pick of a Matt Gaetz going into something like the Justice Department, right? When you think of the thousands of GS-12s, GS-11s, GS-10s, lawyers, FBI agents, it has to have some chilling effect. His qualifications...
Some chilling effect?
Well, he's not there yet. His qualifications will be vetted by the Senate. Do you want somebody out of the system that's been a critique of the system when the people in America are saying, this system's not working for us? None of it is working for us. So put somebody in who agrees the system isn't working. He can't move it individually.
Surely Matt Gaetz is not the only person who thinks the system isn't working. There are a lot of people to choose from.
Yes, there are. And Matt was a loyalist. He took on heavy-duty fire in the midst of a lot of controversial things. And the president knows what he's doing. I think we should just give him a chance, trust his instincts. This man has been thinking about all of this for 4 years. He had 4 years of unbelievable experience. He's going to do the right thing for all of us. And it's not retribution. It's not divisiveness. In his mind, his legacy is the most important thing to him at the time. Promises made, promises kept along that road.
Promises made, promises kept. Tom, I think back to a conversation that you and I had in 2021. And it was for very unpleasant reasons for you, an untimely conversation, but it was timely in the sense that it gave you a chance to reflect on where you'd been with the president in his first term. And one thing you told me is that you didn't want to be part of a campaign built on divisiveness if President Trump wanted to take a second run at the White House. This was a campaign built on divisiveness. How did you get over that?
Well, the reason that I entered into it is I had been a subject of a 9-count indictment by the Eastern District.
Although you didn't know it at the time. You didn't know that was coming when we spoke. It was just before.
No, but I wasn't involved in the campaign at that time. So I had done my service for him, for the country. I was honored. I couldn't believe that, a Lebanese financial lawyer like myself could ever work for the President of the United States. And then it starts. And I look at that experience of saying, fine, if you fly at 40,000 feet, it's not I'm being targeted, but I'm not being targeted out of corruption. I'm being targeted because the political will of the other side is saying, we need to mobilize our political agenda. Now, fortunately, I had the resources to be capable of mounting a defense. So what my whole experience was is the system works, right? The system works. I had a 1.5-year experience. I had a 2-month trial. This judge and the jury in 1 day, a full acquittal. The average person doesn't do that. So in the Justice Department, and I'm getting to why Trump has gone through this in spades. Nobody knows what it does to your life. This man can suffer, absorb more pain than any human being I have ever seen. What it does to lives, what it's done to the lives of all the people around, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, Steve Bannon, everybody, they've all been attacked. So for me coming back and saying, I was honored to be a part of it, I went through this system, and I admire the system. And I don't have anger, revenge, even at the people who brought those charges against me. I understand what they're doing. But it's got to be fixed. It has to end. It has to end not prosecuting Democrats, not prosecuting the existing prosecutors, not prosecuting the political people who were there before. We have to say, hey, time out. This isn't Venezuela. We need a new system.
Okay. Yes or no? That's all I'm going to ask. Should Donald Trump, as one of his first acts as president, pardon anybody who might otherwise be prosecuted for the same reasons on the Democratic side?
That's up to the president. It's
Yes or
way
no?
outside. It's way outside of.
All right. Tom, it's been wonderful having you here. Thank you so very much.
Great interview with a man who knows Donald Trump perhaps better than anybody. I apologize. I was under the impression that was on MSNBC. It was on Bloomberg, actually. But well worth watching. I think he's absolutely right. I don't think the president is obsessed with revenge or retribution. I think he understands that the way to go down in history among our greatest presidents, along with Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, is to unite the country. And the way he's going to unite the country is with a robust economy, because a rising tide lifts all boats. He understands that the cornerstone to restoring our economic strength is low energy prices. That in turn will give him the resources necessary to deal with the problem of affordable housing, to deal with the problem of more job opportunities. As I think it was Ronald Reagan who said, the greatest social welfare program in the world is a good job. So this is what I think Trump's legacy will be. Yes, he's appointed a controversial and potentially a very tough attorney general who I think is going to examine fairly whether there are some in the previous administration, such as John Brennan or James Comey or Susan Rice, who acted in a treasonous manner. That's not persecution. In my case, today happens to be I think the 4th anniversary of my conviction. And all of the stories that will report that, none of them will mention that the judge in my case withheld from my defense attorneys Robert Mueller's final, fully unredacted report. They would allow me to use it in my defense, even though the Constitution says that a defendant is allowed to see all of the evidence against them. Now we know why. Because BuzzFeed sued the Justice Department and finally got the unredacted report. Now, I'm sure the folks at BuzzFeed, which is now out of business, thought that this would be embarrassing to me. But on the contrary, it was completely exonerating. You can read it for yourself, but you'll have trouble finding it because the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS never reported it. But Robert Mueller concluded that he could find no evidence of Russian collusion or WikiLeaks collaboration on my part. He went on to say that even if he had found such evidence, which he didn't, that he had concluded that those activities would not have been illegal. So my family and I were put through hell for process crimes, for allegedly lying under oath to Congress in voluntary testimony. They didn't even have to subpoena me. I showed up voluntarily. But to violate the False Statements Act, your false statement has to be willful, and it has to cover up some underlying crime. It has to be material. The things I was charged with were immaterial. And then the sentencing recommendation of the prosecutors in my case wanted to give me additional jail time for crimes I had never been charged or convicted of. They said in the report that I had been involved in foreign interference in the election. That was false. They said I threatened to kill a federal judge. I've addressed this. It's not true. It's not even remotely true. But when you get caught in one of these media maelstroms, the truth rarely matters. In this particular case, yes, I was defending myself online to raise money for my legal defense. I posted a picture of the judge. Up in the tiny dot in the upper left-hand corner, there is a logo for the organization Corruption Central, which produced the original image. If you look very closely, it's based on a Celtic cross. I got a sworn affidavit from the graphic artist who designed it, and he said no, it had nothing to do with a rifle crosshair. But by the end of the day, every major news outlet said that I had posted a photo of the judge in my case with the rifle crosshairs over her face. That was a lie. But try to get the truth out in the middle of one of these media feeding frenzies. It's virtually impossible. So I'm going to be writing that today to point out the falsity of those who are celebrating my conviction, for which I have a full and unconditional presidential pardon. I guess it was now 4 years ago today, I believe. Anyway, Troy, what's up next?
Well, Roger, we have a lot to get to today in the video department. Lots. One of our favorites here at the Stone Zone, Dan Goldman, has, the Democrats are really spinning in their wheels because they're trying to figure out why they just got destroyed in an election, not only in the popular vote, but in the Electoral College as well. It's very tough for them in their world of anti-Trump hate to cope with the fact that a majority of Americans want Trump to lead the country. They put Trump in the White House. So one of the things that they're now throwing around in Congress, they've actually filed a resolution on this, Roger, is a resolution stating that Trump can only serve 2 terms. Now, completely useless. I mean, there's not been any talk of Trump serving more than 2 terms. He's joked about it, I think, 1 time. But Dan Goldman went on MSNBC to talk about this. I want to roll this and get your thought on this ridiculous ploy by the Democrats. I mean, if this isn't grasping at straws, I really don't know what is. Let's roll that.
Isn't that already clear? Like, don't we already know that?
Yes, it is very clear, which is why it should be very easy for every single Republican member of Congress to vote in favor of this resolution. But Donald Trump, as you point out, Chris, has joked, quote unquote, about many different things, including, as I remember, in 2018, he joked about pardoning himself, and then that became completely normalized, and everyone just expected him to pardon himself if he won this time. The same thing has been happening. He has mentioned this over and over and over again for years now. And his jokes are not jokes. Nobody takes them as jokes. They are trial balloons. They are very intentionally designed to soften the response and then to normalize his unconstitutional and anti-democratic goals. And so this
is an absurdity. This is the same Dan Goldman, the trust fund baby who purchased himself a seat in Congress from New York's Silk Stocking District of Manhattan. He's a man who said that Donald Trump needed to be eliminated just weeks before an assassin tried to do exactly that. He also, when Kash Patel set up a foundation to help those whistleblowers in the FBI who were suspended, so they couldn't go get a job elsewhere, but suspended without pay. When Kash Patel set up a foundation to raise money to support the whistleblowers' families, Dan Goldman accused him of paying them for false testimony, which is, of course, a lie. Now, Dan Goldman is in a contest with Jamie Raskin to see who can be the most irresponsible and dishonest member of Congress. I still think Raskin's in the lead, but Goldman's moving up on him quickly.
Well, it's just unbelievable to see, and the process is very straightforward, Roger. I mean, these are guys like Dan Goldman particularly. They go into committee hearings, and they did this to you. And I believe it was Jamie Raskin that came out and said that he had definite evidence that you had colluded with Russia. And he was telling news outlets this based on privileged classified information that he had received behind closed doors. We found out that's a total lie. But can you comment on that? Because that's what these people do, right? They go into classified hearings, they run out to the media, and they start spewing lies based on that classified information. I'd like to see in this next Republican Congress, Roger, them start to take action against people who do this, because these are classified hearings, and to go out and misrepresent what you hear to the press for your own political benefit, I mean, that's just horrible.
Well, you're absolutely right. So in the House Intelligence Committee hearings, theoretically under the House rules, there's supposed to be no discussion of what happens in a classified hearing. Yet within hours of my testimony, you had Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, who we now know was penetrating a red Chinese spy, who was in turn penetrating his office. He was entitled to classified information. God knows how much of it he passed on to the Chinese spy. You also had that half-pint congressman from Texas, whose name escapes me, all saying that I had perjured myself, which was not true. So the rules don't apply for them. At least they didn't used to apply for them. Adam Schiff not only violated House rules, he violated the law in the Russian collusion hoax. And right now, my guess is that he's crapping his pants over the fact that you may have in Matt Gaetz an attorney general who is committed to the rule of law. Really funny to watch Eric Swalwell yesterday say that Matt Gaetz is not a serious person. Eric Swalwell, who has an IQ of 70 on a good day. This stuff would be funny if it wasn't true. But the Democrats really fear those who have violated the law. They really fear prosecution. That's why when I was on with Clayton Morris yesterday on Unredacted, his great show, I still said that my number one fear was yet another assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Now, that would sound like a crazy conspiracy theory, but for the fact that they've already tried to kill him twice that we know of. So that remains my greatest fear because the president is signaling that Washington is not going to be business as usual. It's not going to be the way it was. There's a new sheriff in town, and we're going to live under the rule of law, not the perversion of the rule of law that we saw under the Biden administration, and before that, the Obama administration.
Well, and Roger, there's been a lot of warnings from D.C. about Jack Smith and his investigation and the idea that he's going to walk away. We talked about that yesterday. He's resigning, but he's going to release his report before Trump takes power. And we have a article from Fox News where top GOP senators are warning the DOJ to preserve all the documents in the Jack Smith investigation. And they're even citing past destruction of records here. So they're saying, you guys have a history of deleting and destroying anything that might incriminate you. We want to take a look at this investigation. We want to take a look at what's going on. What do you have to say about this warning from GOP senators? Is there anything that we can do here to prevent them from basically shredding everything that incriminates them?
Well, it's unfortunate in one way. Look, I'm glad that Jack Smith has recognized that based on the Supreme Court decision that he is unable to prosecute a sitting president, which Donald Trump is going to be. There's some who suggest that the indictments of Trump should be frozen in time so that he can be tried after the Trump presidency. Don't think that's going to happen. Judge Cannon in Florida ruled correctly that Jack Smith's appointment is unconstitutional. He was never approved by the U.S. Senate. There is no law that creates his position. There is no budgeting for his position. There is no special counsel law. There was an independent counsel law, which the Democrats loved when it was used to investigate Iran-Contra and the Bush administration, but they didn't like it so much when it was used to investigate Bill Clinton. So they let it expire. So I happen to think, just based not on any contact with Judge Cannon, who I've never met in my life, never seen, never communicated with, but I can read. I read all of the filings from both sides in the so-called document case. And I was also familiar with the argument about the constitutionality of Smith's appointment. Now, that had been appealed to the 11th Circuit, which comprises Florida. I don't know what the 11th Circuit would have done, but I'm not sure it matters whether they had upheld Cannon or upheld Smith. The question was going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. I think, just my opinion, the Supreme Court would find, despite what Andrew Weissman may say, or Neil Keitel, or any of these other criminals who are on MSNBC, that Smith's appointment is indeed unconstitutional. Well, if Smith's appointment was unconstitutional, well, then so was Robert Mueller's. Robert Mueller, that was challenged in the DC Circuit, and it was wrongly decided. So it would, but if the Supreme Court ruled that Smith was unconstitutionally appointed, then it is logical to conclude that Mueller was also unconstitutionally appointed. And frankly, my lawyers would have moved to completely vacate the charges against me. I believe that General Flynn would do the same, probably Paul Manafort as well. Unfortunately, we will never have that opportunity now because Smith has announced that he will drop his cases in essence and resign. But I think there needs to be an examination of whether Jack Smith was coordinating the prosecution of Donald Trump in Georgia and in New York in at least 2 cases there, because I believe there's more than ample evidence that he was. That is a legitimate question. And I hope if Matt Gaetz gets to be Attorney General, or whoever the next Attorney General ends up to be, presumably Gaetz, that they will look into that, because it is an egregious violation of law. What's driving Democrats and the establishment media crazy is they're now finally going to be held responsible for their lies. They're going to be held accountable for the tsunami of disinformation and their efforts to destroy Donald Trump. Look, they tried to bankrupt him. They tried to jail him. They're still trying. They tried to keep him off the ballot in 50 states, all the while telling us that they were protecting democracy. It's a new day in America. You can feel it when you go out in the streets. You know, I usually, when I go to the grocery store, I wear sunglasses and a hat, because I just don't want to argue with abusive leftists who want to get into it with you. I'm not interested. Day before yesterday, my wife wanted me to pick some things up at the grocery store. I wore, for the first time ever, a Trump t-shirt that Anthony Constantino at stickermule.com gave to me. It's a great t-shirt. It says in giant letters, Trump for peace. And I wore it. And I was amazed at how many people came up to me who I think previously would have said nothing to tell me that they voted for Trump and they were glad that he won. And here's the great thing, Troy. I would say that as many as 20 people stopped me in the grocery store to tell me that they voted for Trump and they were glad that he won. And of those 20, 17 were African Americans. Now, that's not a scientific sample, but it does say an awful lot.
Well, it does. And the changing of the times, 2016, you couldn't imagine a scenario like that because the propaganda was so thick. And they, everybody had been told that Donald Trump was this racist, card-carrying racist. They literally called him that. And, they spread horrible lies about his father, horrible lies about his family. And it's terrible. And, I feel that in every clip that we play here, Roger, these people panicking, people like George Conway ran advertisements in this election with Trump's father, a transparent image of Trump's father. It's like talking, saying, I'm ashamed of you, talking to Trump. I mean, that level of hatred, Roger, is something that it's not just something we haven't seen in politics. You just don't see that in general. And I think one of the amazing things about Trump that we don't really talk about is the level to which he's pulled the rope and the curtain away from the media. And we see how really vicious and evil these people really are. They are sick, demented individuals. People on MSNBC, they're out of their minds. And the fact that we are supposed to look to them people like I have to scratch and fight for Slingshot News to be respected, and people like we talked to Michael Knowles yesterday, independent media people, we have to scratch and fight. Meanwhile, they got people like Joy Reid up there on MSNBC who says that the president was never shot, that when Trump fell down on the stage, this is what she claims, he took out a blood capsule and bit it and spread the blood on his face to fake that he was shot. That's legitimately what Joy Reid claims happened when Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. We're supposed to believe her. She's credible. No one ever questions her credibility. But people like me, people like Michael Knowles, people like yourself, we're not credible. And it's just something we have to address in this administration. We have to see media get more involved. We have to see more independent media. And we have to see the president, I hope, and his administration honor that independent media more than what we see in the mainstream media, which is just getting worse and worse. Roger, we have another story that I want to get your comment on, because True Social, really, I know Twitter was very important, and X, eventually probably was a main factor in Trump winning this election, but True Social was really instrumental before that in getting Trump his voice back. You see, before True Social, Trump was not allowed to post anywhere. And it wasn't until he started posting there that Elon Musk eventually took over Twitter. And I think the Democrats see this, Roger, and they're very angry about it. So they have launched a new effort to kind of rival True Social with this Twitter clone called Blue Sky. And they've paid these large Hollywood people like George Takei and Ben Stiller and others to go over to Blue Sky and to tweet about Democrat politics. All the major Democrats are on there. We have a screenshot from the feed there, and it's very strange if you go on there. It's mostly AI-generated content. You see a lot of AI-generated comments and users. I want to get your thoughts on this. Did the Democrats look at True Social and say, wow, we got to have something like that? Is that what this is?
It appears that must be the case. Look, I'm all for free speech. I don't care if you're a communist, a socialist, a vegetarian, wherever you are. They can have their own website, a social media platform. That's great. I think what drives them crazy about X, formerly known as Twitter, is heretofore they had a monopoly on discourse. So if you didn't matter what you believed. If you believed that the COVID-19 vaccination was not safe and effective, or you believed that the 2020 election was stolen, or you believed that the Russian collusion claims were a hoax, you were summarily just silenced. I mean, I had 980,000 followers in 2017 when I was banned on Twitter. I never got an email or any notice from them. I never was told which of their many rules that I violated, but my page just disappeared overnight. And then some research group affiliated with George Soros released a report which claimed completely falsely that I owned hundreds of fake profiles on Facebook. And therefore I should be banned for life there, which I was. By the way, I did have multiple profiles. I had my personal one. I had one for the StoneZOne, my website. I had one for each of the books that I've written: The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, The Clintons' War on Women, The Bush Crime Family. I had one for The Making of the President, 2016, my book on the election about how Donald Trump orchestrated an American revolution. But I was accused of controlling Facebook profiles for people who may or may not have existed. I don't know, but I had nothing whatsoever to do with. But on the basis of this Soros-funded report, I was banned for life on Facebook. I still am. Now, the irony of that is, Troy, there's a bunch of Roger Stones on Facebook today. You can find them. They're selling crypto. They're offering people jobs. They're actually collecting people's financial information. Folks, I'm not on Facebook. That's not me. And it pops up on X as well. So they take my legitimate X profile, They take the exact same artwork and the same profile, and then they post it. They change a letter or two in my handle to make it look like it's me. My lawyers, in the case of Facebook, we complain to Meta. First of all, it takes forever for them to respond. They just ignore you. But then when the people claiming to be me are taken down, they just pop up again later, hours later, making a slight change in the handle name. It's very galling. Bottom line, folks, if you see Roger Stone on Facebook, it's not me. Don't buy any crypto from them. Don't assume in any way that's me, because it isn't. Would I like to be restored on Facebook? Sure, I would. Do I think that's ever going to happen? I kind of doubt it. So if the real Roger Stone ever tries to post a profile on Facebook, it'll come down like that. But all these fake Roger Stones, they're allowed to exist. Now, I used to have a vibrant following on Instagram as well. Just because Meta owns both Facebook and Instagram, I was banned for life there as well. The problem here, of course, is that these people, they fear the truth. That's the real problem. They are opposed to anyone who challenges their narrative. This is what's so great about X. This is what's so great about Truth Social. So I'm proud to be back on X. By the way, you can find me at Roger J. Stone Jr. Roger J. Stone Jr. I'm verified. I'd like to change my profile picture, but if you do, well, then you lose your verification, at least temporarily. So I'm not going to fool with it, but please follow me there. I think you will find it lively and entertaining. Two housekeeping things that I do need to go into. First of all, we do need to keep the lights on here at the Stone Zone, and we're very proud to continue to be sponsored by the great folks at mypillow.com. Nobody's taken more abuse than my friend Mike Lindell. It's because he's the country's leading advocate for free speech and integrity in our elections. But go to My Pillow, and when you do, please use promo code STONE. My favorite products are well known. I love the dog beds, which come in 3 sizes, as well as the pet blankets. If you're an animal lover, these are great products. My babies love them. My 2 dogs aren't too happy about the appointment of Christy Gnome, but well, that's a different issue. But I really asked you to go buy My Pillow, and when you do, use promo code STONE. If you think My Pillow's just about bedding or pillows, well, then you haven't been to the website. So check it out. Buy something. Mike Lindell is a great American. He has a money-back guarantee if you're unsatisfied with what you buy, unless it's a closeout sale item. My good friend Sal Greco, the former New York City police officer, now host of the Sal Greco Show, he likes the moccasin slippers. He every time I see him, he's wearing them. He says they're incredibly comfortable. So you can find great products over there at My Pillow, and when you do, you're really helping me. You're really helping my wife. You're really helping my family, because well, we're still digging out from the hole that was caused in our personal finances by Robert Mueller. One other key point I want to cover, and that is, yes, I helped put together a bid to buy InfoWars out of bankruptcy. What I contributed was sweat equity. I didn't put up any money because I don't have any money to put up, but I did help bring together other qualified investors. And the bid at first was given to a group that I guess owns The Onion, but that decision has now been frozen because of evidence of corruption in the bankruptcy trustee proceeding. So it's not clear today whether or not the folks I'm working with are going to get control of InfoWars or not. Hope springs eternal. So for all you people on X who were celebrating that our bid had been defeated, not so fast. Let's see what happens. Meanwhile, as you know, Troy, Alex Jones didn't miss a beat, even though they took InfoWars away from him, basically padlocked the place. He jumped over to X with the Alex Jones Network. He's running huge numbers there. I urge folks to follow him there and start listening to him there. I was proud to be among his first guests. And it just demonstrates, again, the truth will never be silenced. The truth will always, always come out.
Well, and Roger, the idea that Alex has gone under so much, fire. I mean, they've taken everything from him. They've destroyed his name in many ways. I mean, more ways than you can really count. And as you've kind of talked about here on the show today, surviving that media frenzy where they get all of these, the Daily Beast, the Guardian, all these groups they put out, the New Republic, they put out all these articles in a coordinated fashion, and even the mainstream news gets on it. To survive that for the amount of time that Alex Jones has, and the fact that InfoWars continues to triumph, it's pretty amazing. And one thing real quickly, Roger, I want to say on the Facebook front with the fake profiles, one thing I did notice, I know a few people who have been lifetime banned from Facebook. You're one of them. Laura Loomer is another one. And if you look on Facebook and you look at the names of these profiles and you go into the fake profiles and the descriptions that they have, it almost leads always back to a thing called QFS. And it's this weird quantum financial system that people talk about. And if you trace it all back, it comes back to some of the most hardcore right-wing conspiracy theorists, the most dangerous people on the internet, really. The people that the mainstream media tells us are destroying lives and hurting people and spreading propaganda. And it's just interesting. You're banned. People that I know are banned. But the impersonators, the people, these hardcore conspiracy theorists that literally steal money from people, they're allowed to operate. And it's why we have to have channels like this, Roger, here on Rumble, where people can follow us, rumble.com/Roger Stone, and also on the StoneZOne, where you put up your radio show and you put up clips of the show. I mean, it's so important for us to have those communication channels. And you, Roger, having the experience you do, you remember a time when you didn't have access to independent media, and you were really at the will of the mainstream media. It must be nice to have a voice today.
It is, Troy. It's really great to be back, and I hope to see Elon Musk, hopefully tonight, to thank him in person for restoring my voice. All right, we're out of time here, unfortunately, and therefore we got to move towards the exit. I'll remind folks that you can see us. You have 3 opportunities, actually. We're at worldviewtube.com at 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern. You can see the StoneZOne then. But if you miss it there, you want to see it later in the day, well, download the Rumble app to your phone and sign up at rumble.com/Roger Stone. You can see the little little green box there where you can follow us, and then set a notification to remind you when we're going to be on. We try to bring you the best political analysis out there. Troy Smith will not be attending the swearing in of Larry Hogan as the U.S. Senator from Maryland because too bad Larry lost. Anyway, until tomorrow, God bless you. Godspeed. We'll see you right here on the StoneZOne.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone. Where's Roger Stone?